What if I told you your financial story is not stuck, it's just misaligned? What if the same God who made men wealthy in the Bible is waiting to do the same for you? And what if the secret has been in Scripture all along, but hidden in plain sight? Stay with me till the end of this video, because what you're about to hear can completely redefine your financial destiny. In this video, I will be revealing in detail 13 powerful individuals in the Bible whom God made truly prosperous. But listen carefully, God did not bless them randomly. Their prosperity was not luck. It was not coincidence. It was a response to specific actions, a response to alignment, a response to principles they engaged. Prosperity in the kingdom is not a mystery. It is a system, and I call that system biblical wealth codes. These are divine principles that govern increase. And here is the truth many ignore. Anyone who aligns with these principles correctly cannot remain poor. In this teaching, I will break down exactly what each of these 13 individuals did, the decisions they made, the instructions they followed, the patterns they lived by, so that if you apply even one of them correctly, your financial life can shift dramatically. Because God is not partial. He does not choose favorites. God is no respecter of persons. He is a respecter of covenant. The Scripture declares, "For thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name." That's in Psalm 138, verse 2. And again, "My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone out of my lips." That's Psalm 89, verse 34. This means God is bound by his word. God does not change his terms. God does not break his system. Once he establishes a covenant, it is permanently binding. Every one of these 13 individuals understood this. They aligned with it, they acted on it, and God responded with undeniable prosperity. And here is the good news. You can do the same. You are not excluded. You are not disadvantaged. You are not forgotten. If you follow the same principles, you can become a kingdom giant in your generation. Before we dive into these 13 life-changing examples, if you have not subscribed to this channel, you have truly been missing out. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because I release eye-opening, destiny-shaping teachings daily. You are not here by accident. This could be the moment everything begins to change. I see your financial story turning for the best. Stay with me. Let's begin. Number 1, Abraham. Abraham, activating and sealing the covenant through radical obedience. In the beginning, Abraham received divine instruction without any explanation. God initiated Abraham's journey with a command, not with provision. Abraham was told to leave his country, his family system, and his father's house. He was sent on his way to an unknown destination. As it's written in Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 4. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him. Abraham's sacrifice was, honestly, a total disconnection. He gave up his cultural identity, his economic security, his inheritance structure, and even his predictable future. This wasn't just relocation, it was a complete disengagement from everything he'd known. And when it came to obedience, Abraham responded immediately and absolutely. There was no delay, no questions recorded, and no partial compliance. He moved really based solely on God's word. In response, God initiated a covenant with Abraham. He released blessing, the empowerment to prosper, a great name that carried influence, and a generational impact with global relevance. Next comes the process, walking the covenant daily. Abraham kept himself in continuous alignment with God. Wherever God appeared, Abraham built altars, maintaining spiritual sensitivity and following divine direction step by step. As Genesis chapter 12, verses 7 and 8 says, "And the Lord appeared unto Abram, and there builded he an altar unto the Lord, and he removed from thence unto a mountain, and there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord." The insight here is, Abraham didn't just obey once, he lived in obedience. It was a daily, ongoing journey. Now, let's talk about the wealth manifestation, how the covenant produces resources. God responded to Abraham's faithfulness with material prosperity. Genesis chapter 13, verse 2 puts it plainly. "And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold." If we try to quantify Abraham's wealth in today's terms, it's pretty staggering. He managed massive livestock operations, held significant reserves of precious metals, and had a large workforce of servants. Genesis chapter 14, verse 14 tells us, "And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318. In modern terms, that's a structured household enterprise. With large herds and substantial stores of gold and silver, Abraham's estimated net worth would be somewhere between $20 million and $100 million. He functioned, really, like a regional economic power in his time. The covenant test, you know, is all about financial and spiritual integrity. After rescuing Lot, Abraham was offered wealth by the king of Sodom. But listen to these words from Genesis chapter 14, verses 22 to 23. "I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich." Abraham refused easy money, he turned down compromised wealth, and he rejected any external credit for his success. In doing so, Abraham protected the true source of his prosperity. The covenant was secured when faith was counted as righteousness. Abraham believed God even when it seemed impossible by natural standards. As it says in Genesis chapter 15, verses 5 and 6, "Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Abraham believed without physical evidence and against biological limitations. Because of this, his faith was credited as righteousness, and the legitimacy of the covenant was firmly established. The ultimate test, was sacrificial obedience. God asked Abraham to offer Isaac. Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 and 2 says, "Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and offer him." Isaac represented the promise, the future, and the very continuity of the covenant. God, in essence, asked for everything. Abraham responded with immediate execution, as it says in Genesis chapter 22, verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and then, in the act of faith, the completion of obedience is described in Genesis chapter 22, verses 9 and 10. Abraham built an altar and bound Isaac his son, and Abraham stretched forth his hand to slay his son. This was total surrender, a profound act of faith. Now, let's pause for a moment and listen to the words from Genesis chapter 22, verses 11 and 12. "Lay not thine hand upon the lad, for now I know that thou fearest God." Here, God steps in, confirming the covenant with Abraham in a way that honestly changes everything. Then, in verses 16 and 17, the Lord declares, "By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed." This, folks, is God's sworn blessing, an irreversible covenant sealed by his own word. So, what was the result of all this? Well, it was what you might call multi-dimensional prosperity. Abraham experienced financial dominion. He became extremely wealthy, not just in assets, but also in manpower. And the impact didn't stop there. He became the father of nations, shaping generations to come. Most importantly, he had divine backing, because God himself swore by his own name, the highest level of covenant you could ever imagine. Let's take a moment to draw out some key strategic insights from Abraham's journey. First, obedience activates the covenant. Abraham moved, and then God responded. Second, separation precedes elevation. He had to leave before he could become. Third, integrity preserves wealth. Remember, he refused the riches of Sodom. Fourth, faith legitimizes the covenant. His belief positioned him for righteousness. And finally, sacrifice seals the covenant. Offering Isaac was the ultimate test. Each of these principles, really, they still hold power today. Abraham's prosperity was not accidental. You see, it followed a clear sequence instruction: obedience, separation, faith, integrity, sacrifice, and finally, covenant establishment. Now, here's a core principle. Obedience activates God's promises, while sacrifice secures them permanently. Let's get practical. Ask yourself, what instruction have I delayed? What comfort must I leave behind? And what, really, is God asking me to surrender? Your next level may not require more effort. It may simply require higher obedience. God still operates by covenant patterns. He responds to obedience, he honors sacrifice, and he establishes those who trust him completely. If you follow Abraham's pattern, you position yourself for Abraham's kind of results. Number 2. Isaac. Practicing covenant in unfavorable conditions. The situation, a time of economic collapse, famine. Isaac encountered a severe famine in the land, just like in Abraham's time. His natural instinct was to relocate to Egypt, since that seemed like a place of, perceived economic stability. So he began the journey toward Egypt, but paused in Gerar. As it says in Genesis chapter 26, verse 1. And there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. Divine instruction. Stay, don't escape. God explicitly told Isaac, do not go to Egypt. Remain in the land I will show you. Isaac abandoned logic and economic reasoning and chose obedience. Genesis chapter 26, verses 2 and 3. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. The sacrifice, Staying in famine meant accepting uncertainty. Rejecting Egypt meant rejecting visible security. Trusting God meant embracing invisible provision. Now, listen closely. God responded by activating the covenant once again. He reaffirmed the blessings given to Abraham, the promise of land, the assurance of multiplication, and, this global impact through his descendants. As it's written in Genesis chapter 26, verse 4. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Here comes the critical action, sowing in famine. Isaac, he planted crops right in the middle of a drought-stricken economy. This wasn't just about survival, no, it was covenant behavior. Genesis chapter 26, verse 12 says, Then Isaac sowed in that land, and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. Think about the sacrifice here, sowing when there's no rain, no guarantee of a harvest, and while everyone else is hoarding and not investing. And yet Isaac obeyed. He acted contrary to the economic conditions around him. He didn't follow market signals, but rather he moved by divine instruction. God's response was both immediate and progressive prosperity. Genesis chapter 26, verse 13 puts it plainly, And the man waxed great, and went forward, and grew, until he became very great. Let's break that down a bit. First, there was an immediate return, 100-fold harvest in just 1 year. Then came progressive growth. He went forward, experiencing continuous increase. And finally, established wealth. He became very great, reaching a level of economic dominance. Truly remarkable, isn't it? The result, folks, was nothing short of a tangible wealth explosion. as it says in Genesis chapter 26, verse 14. For he had possession of flocks, and possession of herds, and great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him. Now, if we try to quantify Isaac's wealth in modern terms, just think about it for a moment. He had large livestock holdings, a substantial labor force, and agricultural yields that returned 100-fold. So in today's world, his livestock assets alone would be worth anywhere from $2 to $10 million. His agricultural output, easily millions annually. And with all those servants, it's like running a mid-size enterprise. Altogether, you're looking at a net worth conservatively estimated between $10 and $50 million, if not more. Now, let's talk about maintaining covenant under pressure. The secondary actions here are all about handling conflict without strife. Isaac, you see, reopened the wells his father had dug, but he faced opposition again and again. Yet he chose peace over conflict. In Genesis chapter 26, verses 19 to 20, we read, "And Isaac's servants digged in the valley, and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen. But instead of fighting, Isaac simply moved on, dug again, and trusted God to make space for him. God responded with supernatural expansion, as it says in Genesis chapter 26, verse 22. And he removed from thence, and digged another well. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." Then comes the divine encounter, the confirmation of the covenant. Genesis chapter 26, verse 24 tells us, "And the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee." Isaac's response was to worship and align himself with God. He built an altar, called on the Lord, and established his spiritual priorities. That, my friends, is how you anchor wealth and success in something far greater than material gain. You know, sometimes even those who once stood against you are forced to admit the truth. As it is written in Genesis chapter 26, verse 28, "We saw certainly that the Lord was with thee." It's a powerful thing when your favor becomes undeniable even to your enemies. So, what happened next? Well, former enemies sought peace agreements with Isaac. His influence, it became impossible to ignore. Isaac became undeniably influential, and that's something no one could deny. Now, let's pause for a moment and draw out some key insights, some strategic takeaways, if you will. First, covenant overrides economy. Isaac prospered during famine, not after it. Second, obedience. Well, it beats strategy every time. Egypt looked logical. Staying seemed foolish, but it was obedience that produced real wealth. Third, sowing is a covenant trigger. His breakthrough, you see, began with just one action, sowing. Fourth, prosperity is progressive. It began, it continued, and then it became very great. Fifth, peace preserves prosperity. By avoiding strife, Isaac protected his expansion. And sixth, visible results attract recognition. His success became undeniable evidence of God at work. So Isaac did not just survive the famine, he dominated it. The core principle here: covenant practice, that is, obedience combined with faith-driven action, produces results that defy natural conditions. Number 3, Jacob, strategic obedience and supernatural wealth transfer. Now, let's set the stage. Jacob found himself in a situation where exploitation and delayed reward seemed to be the order of the day. He entered into a labor agreement with Laban, thinking he'd serve 7 years for Rachel. But as life sometimes goes, he was deceived and ended up working another 7 years. And you know, he didn't stop there. Jacob continued working additional years, all while Laban kept changing the wage structure on him. As it says in Genesis chapter 31, verse 7. And your father hath deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. So what did Jacob endure? Well, he put in over 14 years of labor just for marriage. Then there were another 6 years spent building up wealth, as we see in Genesis chapter 31, verse 41. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle. He endured manipulation, unfair treatment, and a whole lot of economic instability. But here's the important insight. Jacob's process wasn't instant. It was a refining journey, shaped through pressure and perseverance. Now, here comes the turning point. A covenant strategy is introduced. Jacob, trusting in something greater, proposed a new system. He said he would take only the speckled, spotted and streaked animals from the flock. At first glance, this looked like a disadvantage. Genesis chapter 30, verse 32 puts it this way: I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and of such shall be my hire. Jacob accepted a system that looked honestly pretty unfavorable. But he chose to trust a process that required both faith and insight. Now, let's talk about the strategic execution, faith-based action in motion. Jacob took rods of green poplar, peeled white stripes in them, and set those rods in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. Genesis chapter 30, verses 37 to 39 says, And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and peeled white strakes in them, and he set the rods in the gutters when the flocks came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. But let's be clear, the rods weren't magic. They were just a physical action aligned with divine revelation. That's confirmed later on in Genesis chapter 31, verses 10 to 12. And it came to pass that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream. The rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-straked, speckled and grizzled. And the angel of God spake unto me, I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. Jacob acted on revealed knowledge, not manipulation. It was obedience to divine instruction that made the difference. Now, let's talk about God's extraordinary response, a supernatural wealth transfer. As it's written in Genesis chapter 30, verse 43. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses. You see, there was accelerated multiplication. The animals Jacob desired began to reproduce at higher rates. There was also selective increase, as Jacob's category of livestock started to dominate, and a shift in wealth, with Laban's riches moving right into Jacob's hands. Genesis chapter 31 verse 9 says it plainly, "Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me." So, that's how God orchestrated a supernatural transfer of wealth. The result of all this? Economic independence. Jacob ended up with massive holdings of livestock, a growing team of servants. His organization expanded, you might say, plus camels, which were valuable for both trade and mobility. He was now financially independent from Laban. If we try to put that in today's terms, based on a large-scale livestock economy, a sizable workforce, and trade animals like camels for logistics and commerce, Jacob's assets would be worth somewhere between $5 and $25 million just in livestock. Add another $2 to $10 million for trade and logistics, and at least $5 million for his household enterprise. Altogether, his estimated net worth could easily be $15 to $50 million or more. Now, let's look at the exit strategy, obedience to transition. The action Jacob took was leaving Laban, as God instructed in Genesis chapter 31, verse 3, "Return unto the land of thy fathers, and I will be with thee." Jacob didn't stay stuck in a place of old struggles. He moved when God said move. And here's the key insight, true prosperity. Well, it requires knowing when to stay and when it's time to exit. Covenant protection, that's what we're talking about here. Divine intervention. When Laban pursued Jacob, the scripture says, "And God came to Laban, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad." You see, God stepped in with supernatural protection, neutralizing conflict and, well, preserving Jacob's wealth. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes when things get tough, divine intervention can change the course of everything. All right, let's talk about some key strategic insights. First, covenant strategy always outshines human systems. Jacob, you see, he prospered inside a corrupt system without being corrupted himself. And then, endurance always comes before transfer. 20 years of pressure, that's what it took before that sudden shift of wealth. Now, here's something important. Revelation is what actually drives results. Jacob's breakthrough, it came from divine insight, not just his own effort. Also, wealth transfer. That's not just a nice idea. It's scriptural. The resources moved from the oppressor to the covenant carrier. And timing, well, timing really matters. Knowing exactly when to leave is what preserved everything. So, Jacob didn't escape exploitation just by luck, no. He transitioned through a very defined sequence, first endurance, then revelation, followed by strategic action, divine intervention, wealth transfer, and finally, independence. The core principle here is divine strategy applied consistently can actually convert long-term exploitation into supernatural abundance. Now, here's how you can apply this. Ask yourself, am I just enduring or am I learning? Have I received divine strategy for my own situation? Am I applying insight or am I just working harder? Your breakthrough, honestly, it may not require a new environment. It may just need divine strategy right where you are. God still works through strategic revelation. He sees injustice, He permits the process, He releases strategy, and He enforces transfer. If you align yourself with Jacob's pattern, you can move from limitation to controlled abundance. The foundation, really, is a heart aligned with God. David's rise did not begin on a throne. It began in hidden devotion. As it says in 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 14, "The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people." What defined David early on? He was a worshipper, tending sheep and composing psalms. He was courageous, facing lions and bears, as recorded in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 34 to 36. And above all, he had God-centered thinking. Before David was chosen publicly, he was aligned privately. The opportunity, victory without promotion. When David confronted Goliath, he declared, as we read in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 45, "Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts." The result? David delivered Israel and gained national attention. But here's the key. Victory did not immediately lead to kingship. Instead, it led to jealousy and persecution. The test, really, was loyalty under threat. Saul pursued David unjustly, and David had multiple chances to kill Saul. The defining action, refusal to kill Saul. David chose honor over opportunity. In 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 5 to 7, it says, "And it came to pass afterward that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt. And he said unto his men, The Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, the Lord's anointed." So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to rise against Saul. David gave up immediate kingship, revenge, and self-advancement. He honored God's authority structure and God's timing. He restrained himself even when it was convenient, and even when it was justified. David chose principle over promotion. The process, you see, is all about enduring delay without corruption. David lived as a fugitive, yet he held on to his integrity. He hid in caves, led a group of distressed followers, as described in 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 2, and, he continued seeking God through it all. The sacrifice was real, years of waiting, unstable living conditions, and, honestly, a lot of emotional pressure. Yet, in his obedience, David did not rebel. He didn't take any shortcuts, and he waited patiently for God's timing. God's response was progressive elevation. First, there was partial kingship over Judah. As it's written in 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 4, "And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. Then came the full national kingship. 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 3 says, "So all the elders of Israel came, and King David made a league with them, and they anointed David king over Israel." The key insight here is that David did not seize the throne for himself. He was installed step by step in God's own timing. And then, well, there's God's response of sustained greatness. 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 10 puts it this way, "And David went on and grew great, and the Lord God of hosts was with him." Let's break that down a bit. First, there was continuous growth, he went on, meaning steady progress. Second, his influence kept increasing. He grew great, showing his expanding authority. And of course, there was the divine presence. God was with him, ensuring that his success was not just momentary, but sustained. The result: wealth, power, and national stability. David's reign brought both material and political prosperity. As it's written in 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 28, "And he died in a good old age, full of days, riches, and honor." Now, if we try to quantify David's wealth in today's terms, it came from war spoils, the national treasury, and tribute from other nations. Again, according to 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 3 and 4. "Moreover, I have of mine own proper good, 3,000 talents of gold, and 7,000 talents of refined silver." In modern terms, that's about 112,500 kilograms of gold, worth over $6.5 billion, and 262,500 kilograms of silver, valued at more than $200 million. So, David's estimated net worth, or the value of his national control, could be anywhere from $5 to $20 billion, or even more. But beyond the numbers, the additional results were clear military dominance, national unity, and economic expansion. The legacy: an enduring covenant throne. God's covenant with David was profound, as recorded in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 16. "And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever." The outcome of this covenant was that David's lineage produced kings and ultimately led to Jesus Christ. The real insight here is that David's obedience secured a multi-generational impact. Here are some strategic insights from David's life. First, loyalty preserves destiny. David refused to destroy what God had established. Second, timing matters more than opportunity. He had chances, but he waited for God. Third, honor unlocks promotion. His respect for authority attracted elevation. Fourth, delay is not denial. David's waiting period was actually preparation. And finally, God sustains what he establishes. David's success was not temporary, but enduring. When you honor God's process and timing, favor will accomplish what force cannot. Now, let's pause for a moment and ask ourselves, am I trying to force what God has not released? Do I honor authority even when it is inconvenient? And can I wait without compromising? You know, your next level may not require struggle. It may require alignment with divine timing. God still operates this pattern. He observes loyalty, he tests restraint, and he rewards honor. If you walk in David's pattern, you won't just rise. You will rise with stability, favor, and lasting impact. Number 6. Solomon. Priority alignment and overflowing prosperity. 1. The beginning. A defining moment of choice. Here's what Solomon did. He ascended the throne after David, recognized his inexperience and inadequacy, and then God appeared to him in a dream and gave him an open-ended request. In 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5, it says, "In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And God said, 'Ask what I shall give thee.'" This was honestly a blank check moment, an unlimited request. The core action here is choosing wisdom over wealth. Solomon's story, as told in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9, goes, "Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad." Now, what's remarkable is the sacrifice Solomon made. He deliberately did not ask for riches, or a long life, or even victory over his enemies. As it's written in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 11, "Because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself." So, you see, Solomon denied self-centered gain for a kingdom-centered function. That's a profound choice, really. The obedience here lies in alignment with the divine will. Solomon's request, you see, matched God's priorities: justice, leadership, and responsibility over people. And God's response was a multidimensional reward. As we read in 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 12 and 13, "Behold, I have done according to thy words. I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, and I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor." There's a clear breakdown to God's response. The primary reward, the one Solomon requested, was exceptional wisdom, wisdom unmatched in history. The secondary rewards, which he hadn't even asked for, included wealth, honor, and global distinction. Quite a response, wouldn't you say? The manifestation is that wisdom produces real, tangible results. When wisdom is applied in governance, as in the case of Solomon, 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 28 tells us, "And all Israel heard of the judgment, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him." The outcome? National stability, judicial excellence, and public confidence. It's clear then that wisdom, when truly embraced, leads to flourishing at every level. The wealth explosion, prosperity beyond measure. God's response to Solomon was not just spiritual, but, it was also expressed in material terms, as it's written in 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 23. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And then, in verse 27, "And the king made silver to be in Jerusalem as stones." That's just staggering to imagine, isn't it? Now, when we try to quantify Solomon's wealth in modern terms, 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 14 tells us, Now, the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 603 score and 6 talents of gold. That's roughly 25,000 kilograms of gold annually. At today's gold prices, which hover around $60,000 per kilogram, Solomon's annual gold income alone would be, well, about $1.5 billion. But that's not the whole story. When you include trade, taxes, assets, and infrastructure, Solomon's estimated net worth in today's terms could be anywhere from $50 billion to $150 billion, or even more. Truly, his prosperity was beyond measure. You know, when the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon, she just had to come and test him with some really tough questions. And well, as a result, global leaders were drawn to him, economic partnerships were established, and gifts and wealth flowed right into Israel. As it's written, all the earth sought to Solomon, and every man brought his present. It's clear, wisdom created a global demand and a steady economic inflow. Solomon's legacy wasn't just about wealth or fame. He built the temple, established national systems, and truly strengthened Israel's economy and influence. The outcome? Israel reached a peak of national prosperity, gained a profound cultural and spiritual legacy, and, honestly, secured an enduring place in history. Let's pause and draw out a few key insights from Solomon's journey. First, priority determines outcome. Solomon asked for the right thing and received even more. Second, wisdom attracts wealth. Wealth just naturally followed his competence and insight. Third, God adds what you don't chase. Solomon received riches without ever pursuing them. Fourth, alignment triggers overflow. When your desires match God's will, the results just multiply. And finally, influence follows value. Nations came to Solomon because he had answers. You see, Solomon didn't pursue wealth directly. His pathway was right priority, which led to divine approval, then wisdom, followed by excellence, then wealth, and ultimately global influence. Here's the core principle. When your priorities align with God's will, prosperity becomes a byproduct, not something you have to chase after. So ask yourself, what am I prioritizing? Wealth or wisdom? Are my desires really aligned with divine purpose? Am I pursuing value or just chasing results? Remember, what you choose first determines what follows. God still works in this way. He evaluates our desires, He rewards alignment, and He adds abundance. If you follow Solomon's pattern, you position yourself for effortless overflow and a truly enduring impact. Number 7. Job, integrity that sustained and restored covenant wealth. The foundation, a life of quiet, consistent integrity. Job's story doesn't begin with crisis, it begins with character. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. Now, what does that mean practically? Well, perfect means mature, disciplined, complete in conduct. Upright means ethically straight, with no hidden corruption. Feared God points to a deep reverence guiding his daily decisions. Eschewed evil means he actively avoided sin. not just passively. You see, Job didn't just manage sin, he rejected it completely. The hidden action, priestly responsibility over his family. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned." Thus did Job continually. This was spiritual discipline when it wasn't convenient, interceding even without visible problems, taking responsibility for unseen risks. This was preventive righteousness, not reactive religion. And his obedience? It was consistent, private, and uncompromising. God's response: wealth, influence, and protection. The result was massive, tangible wealth. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. Now, if we try to put that into modern terms, 7,000 sheep could be somewhere between $700,000 to $1.5 million. 3,000 camels, maybe 3 to 9 million. 500 yoke of oxen, that's about 1,000 oxen, worth about 1 to 3 million. 500 donkeys, that's another 250,000 to 1 million. And a very great household, meaning a whole team of servants and workers, a multi-million operational structure. Altogether, we could estimate Job's net worth at 10 to 30 million, conservatively. But there was also additional invisible wealth, divine protection. Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. So Job's integrity produced wealth, growth, and supernatural security, a real hedge of protection. The crisis came suddenly. In just one cycle of events, Job lost everything, his livestock, his servants, even his children. He faced a total loss, unimaginable for most of us. And yet, in the midst of this devastation, Job declared, "Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." You see, Job did not curse God. He didn't abandon his values even as his world fell apart. As it's written, "In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly." The sacrifice he endured was immense: emotional pain, financial collapse, personal devastation. Still, he maintained his alignment with God. Then came the second test, even harder than the first: physical affliction. Satan struck Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. His health was destroyed, and the pressure only intensified. Even his wife urged him to compromise, saying, "Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die." But Job replied, "Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. He retained his integrity even in pain. He refused to speak wrongly or turn against God. You know, real integrity is proven under pressure, not comfort. Now, here's the process. Wrestling without walking away. Job questioned. He expressed his pain honestly and openly. But he never disconnected from God. That's the key reality. He struggled with God, not against God. After everything Job endured, God stepped in, and, well, restoration truly began. As it's written in Job chapter 42, verse 10. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Now, notice this. Job's final act of obedience was to pray for those who misunderstood him. It was forgiveness that actually triggered his restoration. Sometimes, you know, the door to our breakthrough swings on the hinge of forgiveness. God's response was honestly remarkable. Double restoration. In Job chapter 42, verse 12, we read, So the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she-asses. Now, if we put that into today's terms, that's about $1.5 to $3 million worth of sheep, 6 to 18 million in camels, 2 to 6 million in oxen, and 500,000 to 2 million in donkeys. Altogether, Job's estimated net worth after restoration would be somewhere between $25 and $80 million, or even more. But God didn't just restore his wealth. Job received new children, lived a long life, and his honor was renewed. As Job chapter 42, verse 16 puts it, After this lived Job 140 years, and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. That's a legacy, right there. So, what can we actually learn from Job's story? Well, let's break it down with a few key insights. First, integrity attracts both blessing and testing. Job's righteousness drew God's favor, but also scrutiny. Second, wealth that's built on character can survive collapse. He lost everything, but not his foundation. Third, your response under pressure really determines your restoration. Job didn't sin when things got tough, and that qualified him for recovery. Fourth, forgiveness unlocks restoration. Praying for others was what turned things around for him. And fifth, God doesn't just restore, he increases. It's not just about getting back what you lost, but receiving even more. Job's journey wasn't just about wealth. It was about staying aligned with God's covenant, no matter what. His pattern was clear. Integrity leads to prosperity. Then comes testing, endurance, the right response, divine intervention, and finally, double restoration. You know, integrity is the only wealth system that survives loss and honestly guarantees restoration. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Do I maintain integrity under pressure? And can I still honor God when things collapse all around me? Your greatest asset is not what you have. It's who you are, plain and simple. God still operates this pattern. He blesses integrity, he tests authenticity, and he restores faithfulness. If you walk in Job's pattern, you won't just gain wealth, you will have the capacity to sustain and recover it, no matter what happens. Boaz, honor that attracted covenant alignment. The foundation is always this: character before opportunity. Everything Boaz did flowed from this truth. Boaz is introduced not by what he acquired, but by who he was. In Ruth chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz." Now, what does mighty man of wealth really imply? It speaks of financial strength, social influence, and of course, moral credibility. Boaz's wealth was already established, but his character, well, that's what truly sustained it. You know, when Boaz met Ruth, a foreign widow gleaning in his field, he didn't ignore her or exploit her. He honored her. As the scripture says, "Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Go not to glean in another field. Abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee?" Boaz extended protection without obligation and inclusion without bias, even risking what others might think by favoring a foreigner. He upheld God's law of caring for the poor, as found in Leviticus, and showed real personal integrity in his leadership. Boaz didn't just follow the law, he truly embodied compassion. Boaz's generosity went way beyond what was required. As it's written, "And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, Let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them." He instructed his workers to deliberately leave extra grain, creating real opportunity for Ruth's success. That meant he reduced his own harvest margin, choosing generosity over just maximizing profit. Boaz practiced intentional kindness, not just accidental charity. You see, he engineered favor right into his system. Boaz also showed discernment of character, acknowledging Ruth's integrity. As he said, and Boaz answered, "It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel." Boaz honored loyalty, sacrifice, and faith. Honor, you know, recognizes honor. The alignment, you see, is all about covenant responsibility being accepted. Boaz, well, he chose redemption responsibility. He stepped right into his role as kinsman redeemer. As it says in Ruth, chapter 3, verse 11, "For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman." And then in Ruth, chapter 4, verses 9 to 10, "And Boaz said unto the elders, Ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess have I purchased to be my wife." Now, this came at a real cost. There was the financial sacrifice of redeeming land, the weight of social responsibility, and the binding nature of legal commitment. Still, Boaz obeyed. He followed covenant law, fulfilled his family duty, and walked the righteous path, never bypassing the nearer kinsman. The insight here? Boaz chose responsibility over convenience, and that, my friends, made all the difference. Next, we see God's response. covenant alignment activated. The result? Marriage and legacy. Ruth chapter 4 verse 13 tells us, "So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son." The generational impact is profound. As Ruth chapter 4 verse 17 says, "There is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David." Ultimately, Boaz became the great-grandfather of King David, and honestly, part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. The insight here is clear. Honor positioned Boaz inside God's eternal plan. Now, let's talk about the result: sustained prosperity and influence. If we were to assess Boaz's wealth in today's terms, he owned large agricultural fields, had a workforce of reapers and overseers, and managed operational systems. The estimated equivalent? Well, his agricultural enterprise might be worth $2 to $10 million, and the scale of labor and production another $1 to $5 million. So his net worth could easily be in the $5 to $20 million range. But, his greater wealth wasn't just in assets or numbers. It was in his reputation, his influence, and the legacy he left behind. That's the kind of wealth that truly endures. All right, let's talk about some key strategic insights from the life of Boaz. First, honor attracts alignment. You see, the way Boaz treated Ruth, it actually triggered a connection with his destiny. Next, generosity sustains prosperity. Boaz gave freely, and interestingly, he remained wealthy throughout his life. Then, integrity builds trust systems. His workers, the entire community, and even God himself were all aligned with him because of his integrity. Now, responsibility unlocks legacy. By accepting his duty, Boaz set in motion a generational impact. And quiet righteousness produces loud results. Boaz wasn't chasing recognition, but somehow he gained real significance. So here's the final conclusion. Boaz didn't actually pursue increase directly. His journey followed a remarkable pattern. Integrity, then generosity, then honor, then responsibility, leading to covenant alignment, and finally, legacy. So, the core principle here is this. When you consistently operate in honor and integrity, God aligns you with opportunities that multiply your impact. Now, here's how you can apply this. Ask yourself, do I treat people with honor even when there's no benefit for me? Am I generous beyond what's required? Do I choose responsibility even when it's not convenient? Sometimes your next level in life may not come from striving or pushing harder. It may actually come from alignment through honor. God still works in this pattern today. He observes character, he rewards integrity, and he aligns destiny. If you walk in the pattern that Boaz did, you won't just prosper. You'll be positioned for purpose, legacy, and generational impact. Now, let's look at Jehoshaphat. His story is a powerful example of alignment that activated supernatural provision. The crisis, an overwhelming threat. Multiple nations, Moab, Ammon, and Mount Seir, all formed a coalition against Judah. The threat was military, immediate, and honestly, just overwhelming. as it's written in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 1 and 2. It came to pass after this also that the children of Moab and the children of Ammon came against Jehoshaphat to battle. Then there came some that told Jehoshaphat, saying, There cometh a great multitude against thee. Now naturally you'd expect the response to be mobilizing the army, forming alliances, or, developing some sort of war strategy. But Jehoshaphat chose a different path. The defining action, seeking God first. Instead of leaning on human plans, Jehoshaphat led the nation into spiritual alignment, as we read in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 3 and 4. And Jehoshaphat feared and set himself to seek the Lord, and proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. And Judah gathered themselves together to ask help of the Lord. They set aside military confidence, political control, and human strategy, and publicly they declared their dependence on God. This obedience was immediate, collective. It involved the whole nation, and it was entirely God-centered. He didn't deny his fear. Instead, he redirected it into seeking God. The prayer, total dependence on God. Jehoshaphat's action was an honest strategic prayer. In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 12, it says, O our God, wilt thou not judge them? For we have no might against this great company, neither know we what to do. But our eyes are upon thee. He admitted their weakness and lack of strategy, focusing entirely on God. The real breakthrough began when self-sufficiency ended. Now, listen closely. Here comes God's response, a prophetic direction, as it is written in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 15. Thus saith the Lord unto you, Be not afraid, for the battle is not yours, but God's. And again, in verse 17, Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord. So, what did God do here? Well, he removed the responsibility for the battle from their shoulders. He gave them a strategy. Position yourselves, stand still, and then just watch. The insight is simple, yet powerful. Alignment produces divine intervention. Next, we see obedience in action, worship instead of warfare. The chosen strategy was praise. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 21 and 22 tell us, He appointed singers unto the Lord, that should praise the beauty of holiness. And when they began to sing and to praise, the Lord set ambushments against the children of Ammon. The sacrifice here? They sent worshippers ahead of the soldiers and chose praise instead of the usual defense. Their obedience was remarkable. They followed God's instruction exactly and trusted in a strategy that honestly made no logical sense. And God's response? Well, supernatural warfare. The enemies turned on each other, and there was total destruction without Judah ever needing to fight. And so the result was victory without effort. There was no battle fought, no casualties recorded, just complete victory. As it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 24, They looked unto the multitude, and behold, They were dead bodies fallen to the earth, and none escaped. The insight here is profound. God handled what alignment surrendered. Now listen to this. The overflow, supernatural provision released, as it's written in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 25. And when Jehoshaphat and his people came to take away the spoil, they found among them in abundance both riches, more than they could carry away. And they were 3 days in gathering of the spoil. It was so much. The wealth was staggering. Precious items, jewels, valuable goods. Just imagine it. With multiple defeated armies and 3 whole days spent collecting, the modern estimate would be, well, somewhere between $60 million and $250 million in gold, silver and valuables. Military assets and goods alone could be worth 10 to 50 million more. But here's the thing to notice. Provision came after alignment, not before. And then came the aftermath, peace and security. God's final response was national stability. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 29 to 30 tells us, "And the fear of God was on all the kingdoms. So the realm of Jehoshaphat was quiet, for his God gave him rest round about." The result? National peace, regional respect and long-term security. That's the kind of peace that only comes from above. So, what can we learn from Jehoshaphat's story? Well, here are some key strategic insights. First, alignment precedes intervention. He sought God before acting. Second, dependence activates power. Admitting weakness actually triggered divine strength. Third, obedience may defy logic. Worship, not warfare, was their strategy. Fourth, God fights for the aligned. There was no battle, yet total victory. Fifth, provision follows victory. Wealth came after obedience. To sum it all up, Jehoshaphat didn't win by his own strength. His process was crisis seeking God, alignment, instruction, obedience, divine intervention, provision, and then peace. Here's the core principle. When you align with God before confronting challenges, He takes responsibility for both the battle and the provision. Now ask yourself, do I seek God first, or do I just react? Am I relying on my own strategy, or am I seeking alignment? Can I obey even when it doesn't make sense? You see, your breakthrough might not require more effort. It may actually require deeper alignment. God still works in this pattern. He responds to those who seek Him, He directs those who depend on Him, and He provides for those who obey Him. And if you follow Jehoshaphat's pattern, you won't just overcome battles. You'll experience effortless victory and supernatural provision. Uzziah, dependence that produced prosperity, and, well, pride that disrupted it. The beginning, a young king who chose dependence. Uzziah became king at just 16 years old, but instead of ruling by impulse, he submitted himself to divine guidance, as it's written in 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 4 to 5. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God. And as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. Uzziah, you see, yielded his authority to spiritual instruction, accepted correction and guidance, and chose dependence over self-confidence. His obedience was consistent, intentional, and for a season, sustained. God's response? He activated prosperity. The condition was clear. As long as he sought the Lord, prosperity continued. The growth phase, supernatural success across systems. Uzziah's actions were marked by strategic leadership and expansion. He experienced military success as recorded in 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 6 to 7. And he went forth and warred against the Philistines, and God helped him against the Philistines. God's response brought victory in battles, territorial expansion, and supernatural assistance. On the infrastructure and economic front, 2 Chronicles chapter 26 verses 9 to 10 tells us, moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem. Also he built towers in the desert and digged many wells, for he had much cattle. He built towers for security, dug wells ensuring water supply and economic stability, and developed agriculture and livestock. His prosperity, you know, was systemic, not accidental. Uzziah also sponsored innovation and developed military technology, as we read in 2 Chronicles, chapter 26, verse 15. And he made in Jerusalem engines, invented by cunning men, to shoot arrows and great stones. Through this, God gave him strategic advantage and national dominance. The result: wealth, power, and global recognition. According to 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 8, his name spread abroad even to the entering in of Egypt, for he strengthened himself exceedingly. And again at the end of verse 15, and his name spread far abroad, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. If we try to quantify Uzziah's prosperity in modern terms, it's based on military strength, agricultural systems, infrastructure, and innovation. The equivalent? National economic expansion worth billions, military-industrial strength in the range of $1 to $5 billion, and an agricultural economy valued somewhere between $50 to $200 million. Altogether, Uzziah's total influence and wealth capacity amounted to multi-billion-dollar national control. The insight here is clear. His success was divinely assisted, not self-generated. The turning point, you know, comes when strength leads to pride. As it's written in 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 16, "But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against the Lord his God." So, what exactly changed here? Well, dependence shifted to self-reliance, submission gave way to independence, and alignment turned into assumption. The real insight here is that, success introduced a new danger: pride. The disobedience, or crossing spiritual boundaries, is seen in his actions, taking on an unauthorized priesthood role. As we read in 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 16, "And went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense upon the altar of incense." Now, why was this wrong? Only priests, the sons of Aaron, were permitted to do this. Uzziah, he violated the divine order. In doing so, he really abandoned humility, structure, and accountability. The warning, or the opportunity to correct, came when the priest intervened and confronted him. According to 2 Chronicles, chapter 26, verse 18, "It appertaineth not unto thee, Uzziah, to burn incense. Go out of the sanctuary, for thou hast trespassed." This was a decision point. He could have repented. But instead, as it says in verse 19, "Then Uzziah was wroth, and while he was wroth with the priests, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead." So the obedience breakdown was clear. He rejected correction, reacted with anger, and persisted in error. God's response was, well, immediate judgment. The consequence was clear, as it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 20 to 21. "Behold, he was leprous in his forehead, and Uzziah the king was a leper unto the day of his death." Uzziah was removed from leadership, isolated from society, and he lost his active authority. What obedience built, pride disrupted. Uzziah's final state was, honestly, a divided legacy. In his early reign, there was prosperity, expansion, and innovation. But in his later years, there was isolation, a loss of influence, and an interrupted destiny. Here are some, strategic insights from Uzziah's life. First, dependence sustains prosperity, because as long as he sought God, he prospered. Second, structure protects success. Submission to guidance preserved him. Third, strength can actually create vulnerability. His success led to self-exaltation. Fourth, pride destroys what obedience builds. His fall was internal before it was visible. And finally, correction is a lifeline. Rejecting it only accelerated his downfall. So, Uzziah's life, is really a dual lesson for all of us. If you take a look at his full pattern, it goes something like this. Dependence leads to obedience. Obedience brings prosperity. Prosperity builds strength. Strength can turn into pride. Pride leads to disobedience. Disobedience brings judgment, and judgment results in decline. The core principle here is actually pretty simple. Prosperity is sustained by dependence, but, it's destroyed by pride. Now, let's make this personal. Ask yourself, am I still seeking God at my current level? Have I become confident or maybe even a bit self-sufficient? Do I accept correction or do I, resist it? What took you up can keep you up, but only if you stay aligned. God still operates this pattern today. He prospers the dependent, he resists the proud, and he sustains the humble. If you follow Uzziah's early pattern, you will rise. But if you avoid his later pattern, you'll remain established and honestly finish well. Now, let's turn to Hezekiah, devotion that established covenant prosperity. The starting point, was a corrupted system in need of reform. When Hezekiah became king, Judah was spiritually and structurally broken. The temple was shut, worship was corrupted, and idolatry was widespread. He didn't inherit a thriving system, he inherited decline. The first action was immediate restoration of worship. Here's what Hezekiah did. He opened the temple doors, repaired what was broken, gathered priests and Levites, and commanded purification. As it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 3 to 5. He, in the first year of his reign, opened the doors of the house of the Lord and repaired them. And he brought in the priests and the Levites, and said unto them, Hear me, sanctify now yourselves, and sanctify the house of the Lord. Hezekiah confronted a broken religious system, took responsibility for national sin, and invested his time, effort, and authority into reform. His obedience was immediate, in the first year, the first month, thorough and God-centered. The insight here really is that Hezekiah did not delay obedience. He prioritized alignment immediately. The cleansing meant removing corruption completely. The priests undertook a total purification process. As it's written in 2 Chronicles, chapter 29, verse 16, and the priests went into the inner part to cleanse it, and brought out all the uncleanness. They removed idols, defilement, and neglect. This was not just symbolic, it was a systemic cleansing, and the insight is clear. You cannot build prosperity on a corrupted foundation. The restoration, re-establishing true worship. In this moment, the people took action by reintroducing sacrifice and praise. As it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 25 to 28, and he set the Levites in the house of the Lord with cymbals. And when the burnt offering began, the song of the Lord began also. Through their obedience, worship was restored, sacrifices were made anew, and order returned. God responded by bringing spiritual alignment back to the nation. The people returned to divine order and renewed their covenant relationship with Him. The expansion, national participation, and generosity. This was a time for re-establishing giving systems. According to 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verse 5, the children of Israel brought in abundance the first fruits, and the tithe of all things brought they in abundantly. The result was overflowing resources. As we read in verse 10, since the people began to bring the offerings, we have had enough to eat and have left plenty. The people gave their first fruits, their tithes, and their offerings. And you know, this alignment produced economic overflow. God's response, prosperity established. In 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verse 21, we hear, and in every work that he began, to seek his God, he did it with all his heart and prospered. God's response unfolded in three ways. First, there was consistent prosperity in every work, meaning not just selective success, but across the board. Second, there was a heart-based reward with all his heart, showing that sincerity truly mattered. And the result? Prosperity. Spiritual alignment led directly to material results. The external test arrived in the form of the Assyrian threat. King Sennacherib of Assyria invaded Judah, And well, the crisis was real and pressing. But Hezekiah, instead of giving in to panic, chose a different path. As it says in 2 Kings chapter 19, verses 14 and 15, "And Hezekiah received the letter and went up into the house of the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord. He took the problem straight to God. He refused to make decisions based on fear or anxiety." What stands out here is how Hezekiah maintained his alignment even when the pressure was at its peak. Now let's look at God's response: supernatural deliverance. According to 2 Kings chapter 19 verse 35, "And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. In other words, the enemy was defeated overnight. There was no need for a battle, and national security was restored just like that. The key insight? God defended what alignment had established. Moving on to the wealth and influence that followed, national prosperity. As recorded in 2 Chronicles chapter 32, verses 27 to 29, "And Hezekiah had exceeding much riches and honour, storehouses also for the increase of corn and wine and oil." If we try to quantify Hezekiah's prosperity in modern terms, considering the national treasury, agricultural systems and infrastructure, the estimated equivalent would be agricultural and storage systems valued at $50 to $200 million, and the treasury and reserves at $100 to $500 million. So the total national wealth and influence could be somewhere between $200 and $700 million. The additional results? A strong economy, organized systems, and, above all, national stability. So here are some key strategic insights we can draw from Hezekiah's life. First, restoration always comes before prosperity. Hezekiah made sure to fix worship before expecting any results. Second, thorough obedience brings about complete results. Partial reform just wouldn't have worked. Third, alignment creates overflow. Giving, only increased after spiritual order was restored. Fourth, God defends what he establishes. External threats were handled in a supernatural way. And finally, prosperity is actually a byproduct of devotion. Hezekiah didn't chase after wealth. He pursued God. Here's the final conclusion then. Hezekiah didn't build prosperity directly. His process was clear. Reform led to cleansing, which led to worship, then alignment, generosity, prosperity, and finally divine protection. And that brings us to the core principle. When spiritual alignment is restored, prosperity just becomes a natural outcome. Now, let's bring this home. Ask yourself, what areas of my life need realignment? Am I maintaining spiritual order, or am I ignoring it? Am I seeking results, or am I focused on restoring the foundation? Your breakthrough might not actually begin with increase. It may, in fact, begin with restoration. God still operates in this pattern. He responds to genuine devotion. He rewards wholehearted pursuit, and he protects aligned systems. If you follow Hezekiah's pattern, you won't just experience growth. you'll actually build sustainable prosperity with divine backing. The Shunammite woman, discernment that activated divine provision. The beginning spiritual perception in ordinary moments. So here's what she did. She noticed the prophet Elisha passing by regularly. She realized he wasn't just another traveler, but, a carrier of God's presence. Without anyone asking, she took the initiative to offer hospitality. As it's written in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 and 9. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, and she constrained him to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, Behold now, I perceive that this is an holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. What's remarkable here is that there was no instruction from God recorded, no promise given beforehand, and honestly, no visible reward in sight. She acted on discernment, not instruction. Her sacrifice included her time, her resources, and a consistent effort. Her obedience was intentional, voluntary, and, spiritually perceptive. The real insight? She didn't wait around for a miracle. She recognized divine presence early on. The investment, creating space for God's presence. She built a prophetic environment. As we read in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 10. Let us make a little chamber, and let us set for him there a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a candlestick. Practically speaking, she built a dedicated room, furnished it with care, and made sure there was always a consistent place for Elisha. This wasn't a small thing. It meant financial investment for the construction and furnishing, a permanent allocation of space in her home, and an ongoing commitment. Her obedience was structured, deliberate, and really driven by honor. The insight here? She didn't just host occasionally, she institutionalized honor. God's response here is truly remarkable. A need she never requested is about to be met. Elisha, moved by her generosity, sought to bless her in a way she could never have imagined. As it's written in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 14, Verily she hath no child, and her husband is old. Then the promise is given. In verses 16 and 17, Elisha says, About this season thou shalt embrace a son. The woman, overwhelmed, replies, Nay, my lord, do not lie unto thine handmaid. Yet the scripture continues, and the woman conceived, and bare a son. What unfolds is nothing short of supernatural, a conception and the fulfillment of an unspoken need. God answered what she didn't even ask for. Suddenly, the crisis strikes. The child who was promised dies unexpectedly. As we read in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 20, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died. But instead of giving in to panic, she takes extraordinary action. She carries the child to Elisha and shuts the door, and simply refuses to accept that this is the end. When questioned, her response is unwavering. As it says in verse 23, And she said, It shall be well. Through all this, she maintains her faith, refuses to speak anything negative, and acts with real spiritual clarity. Her response reveals a deep covenant understanding. Now she pursues divine intervention with relentless persistence. She travels urgently to meet Elisha, refusing to settle for easy or superficial answers. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 27 tells us, "The woman came unto the man of God and caught him by the feet." It's a journey marked by emotional pressure, physical urgency, and even social risk. Yet through it all, she remains focused, determined, and absolutely faith-driven. God's response was to release resurrection power. This is the miracle, the restoration of life. As it's written in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 32 to 35, "And when Elisha was come into the house, behold, the child was dead, and he went up and lay upon the child. And the flesh of the child waxed warm. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes." The result? The promise was restored, death was reversed, and the covenant was preserved. Here's the insight. What God gives, alignment can recover, even after loss. The preservation, divine intelligence in famine. The warning came from the prophet, as it says in 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 1. "Then spake Elisha unto the woman, Arise and go, for the Lord hath called for a famine." Without hesitation, she obeyed immediately, relocating for survival. Her obedience was prompt, trust-based, and honestly strategic. Here's the insight. Discernment doesn't just attract blessing, it preserves it. The restoration, full economic recovery. After the famine, she returned, and as we read in 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 6, "Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field, since the day that she left the land." God's response was clear. Her land was restored, her income recovered, and truly no loss was sustained. If we try to quantify her restoration in modern terms, considering agricultural land and years of lost harvest, the estimated equivalent would be land value of $100,000 to $500,000 or more, and recovered produce over multiple years could be $50,000 to $300,000 or more. Altogether, her total recovery value might be between $150,000 and $800,000. The insight here, she didn't just survive famine, she recovered everything. Here are some strategic insights. First, discernment precedes provision. She recognized God's presence before any benefits appeared. Second, honor creates access. Her treatment of Elisha unlocked a supernatural response. Third, giving can trigger unrequested blessings. She received what she never even asked for. Fourth, faith sustains what favor starts. Her response preserved the miracle. Fifth, alignment ensures recovery. Even after loss, she regained everything. The Shunammite woman's life, honestly, reveals a powerful pattern. Discernment leads to honor, which leads to investment, then divine response, crisis, faith, restoration, and finally, preservation. The core principle is simple. When you discern and align with God's presence, provision, preservation, and restoration follow. Now, here's the application. Ask yourself, Do I recognize where God is moving? Am I investing in what carries His presence? Do I respond with faith when things go wrong? Your breakthrough may not come from effort alone. It may come from discernment and alignment. Lydia, responsiveness that positioned prosperity for purpose. The background, a woman already positioned in prosperity. Lydia was a seller of purple, which you know was a high-value luxury trade. In the ancient world, purple cloth was associated with royalty, wealth and, elite clientele. As it says in Acts chapter 16, verse 14, and a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple, of the city of Thyatira, which worshipped God, heard us. So what does this mean practically? She was a businesswoman, financially established and spiritually inclined. She worshipped God. Lydia already had economic success, but not yet full alignment. Now, if we look at the modern equivalent, the luxury textile trade was a high-margin business. The estimated business value could have ranged from $200,000 to over $1 million. Her household capacity, hosting and operations would place her in the upper middle to wealthy class. The defining moment, an encounter with the Word. Lydia listened with intent. Acts 16 verse 14 says, whose heart the Lord opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. She paid attention, received the message, and did not resist the truth. And here's the thing, God's response was an internal transformation. The Lord opened her heart. This means spiritual understanding was activated, revelation was received, and alignment was initiated. So, prosperity truly begins with a heart that responds to God. The immediate response, action without delay. Lydia's public alignment came through baptism as recorded in Acts 16 verse 15. And when she was baptized and her household, her obedience was immediate, public, and, decisive. Her entire household followed her lead. Her decision created collective alignment. And the insight here is clear. True response affects not just you, but your environment as well. The sacrifice, using resources for kingdom purpose. Opening her home, as we read in Acts chapter 16 verse 15, she besought us, saying, if ye have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us. What Lydia did was remarkable. She turned her home into a ministry base and a support system for the apostles, providing shelter, resources, and stability. The sacrifice was real, a financial commitment, surrendering her personal space, and even taking on social risk by hosting persecuted believers. Her obedience was practical, generous, and purpose-driven. The real insight here is that she didn't just believe, she mobilized her resources. God's response, positioning for influence. The result was strategic kingdom placement. Lydia became a foundational supporter of the early church in Philippi and a key connector between commerce and ministry. The implied outcome is pretty clear. Her house likely became one of the very first church bases in Europe. The result? Prosperity with purpose. The tangible outcomes? Sustained business success, household salvation and alignment, influence in early Christianity, and a truly strategic role in kingdom expansion. Here's an economic insight. Her wealth was no longer just personal, it became functional for divine purpose. From a modern perspective, supporting missionary work today would mean funding operations, hosting leadership, and enabling expansion. The equivalent value? Well, that's estimated at something like $500,000 to over $2 million in kingdom impact capacity over time. The deeper reality here is that prosperity was redirected. So what actually changed? Well, before, wealth was mostly used for personal or business purposes. But after, wealth became a channel for the kingdom. Here's an important insight. Lydia did not simply gain prosperity, she redefined its purpose. Now, let's take a look at some key strategic insights. First, responsiveness unlocks alignment. God opened her heart, but she responded. Second, quick obedience accelerates impact. There was no delay between hearing and acting. Third, prosperity becomes powerful when directed. Resources gain meaning through purpose. Fourth, influence flows through availability. Her home, you see, became a strategic center. And fifth, alignment multiplies reach. Lydia's decision affected her household, and, honestly, way beyond that. So, Lydia's story isn't about acquiring wealth, it's about activating it for purpose. Her pattern was exposure, then responsiveness, then alignment, followed by action, generosity, influence, and finally, kingdom impact. The core principle is this: when you respond quickly to God's word, your prosperity becomes a tool for divine purpose. So let's take a moment and, really ask yourself, do I respond immediately when God speaks? Am I using my resources for purpose or just for comfort? Is my life truly aligned, or is it simply successful? Now, here's the thing. Your next level may not actually require more income. It may, in fact, require greater responsiveness. God still works in this same pattern. He opens hearts, He watches how we respond, and He uses those who are willing. If you follow Lydia's pattern, your life won't just prosper. It will actually become a channel for impact, influence, and kingdom advancement. If this has opened your eyes, don't just let it end as inspiration. Turn it into action. Right now, pause and ask yourself, what is God telling me to do that I've been delaying? Where do I need to align, obey, or maybe even let go? Because honestly, everything you just heard proves one thing. Your next level is not random. It's connected to your response. So, here's what I want you to do next. Drop a comment saying, I choose alignment. Make it your personal declaration. Share this with someone who needs direction, not just motivation. And, write down one instruction God has been pressing on your heart. And act on it today. And if you're really serious about stepping into this kind of life, stay connected. Because we're not just talking stories here, we're actually breaking down patterns that produce real results. Subscribe or follow for more deep, practical and spiritual breakdowns like this. Because honestly, your growth shouldn't be accidental. It should be intentional and strategic. Now you can see it clearly. God didn't randomly make those 13 people prosperous. Their wealth was not luck, not manipulation, not shortcuts. It was covenant. It was obedience. It was sacrifice. Not one of them built their lives on cheating or defrauding others. They followed divine principles, and heaven responded. And here's the part that should stir something deep inside you. You are not excluded. You can rise the same way. You can walk in that same dimension. If you are willing to align yourself, your thoughts, your actions, your discipline with the principles of kingdom prosperity, you are positioning yourself for supernatural increase. Because God does not play favorites. He honors covenants. The psalm says, "Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice." That means there is a demand. There is a price. There is a posture that provokes divine backing. So the real question is, will you be counted among them? If this message has touched you, stirred you, or opened your eyes in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so more people can encounter this truth. Share it with someone who needs a financial awakening. Comment, "I will obey and apply one of these" as a declaration of your commitment. Subscribe for more powerful teachings on biblical wealth and lasting prosperity. And if you feel led to support this mission and help spread this message to the world, check the description of this video for the link. Your obedience can rewrite your financial story. Until I come your way with my next video, don't forget this: God loves you, and so do I. Amen. Amen.